is one behavior or trait you found that, has derailed more leaders' careers or not served them in the right way?
That's a great question. I think a couple things that maybe haven't derailed leaders. I think that's a very strong word to use, but have put roadblocks in leaders' way, and they're double-edged swords, all of them. But I think one is perhaps having yourself surrounded by or with the wrong people. I have seen many leaders that over time they sort of develop their crew and a collection of people that they trust and that follow them into many different places. I think it's a healthy balance you need to strike as a leader. Having those people close to you and around you that you trust, but also understanding very clearly what their strengths and weaknesses are. So that just because you trust them, you know them well, doesn't necessarily mean they're the person that you need. And that can be a difficult thing to decide when you've got longstanding, close professional relationships and people that you enjoy working with. So you need to have people around you, certainly that you trust, but they also need to have the right skill set. And you need to be honest with yourself and with those key relationships about what the strengths and weaknesses are. Because if you're not, you can be blindsided, plain and simple.
Yeah, that's a great answer. It's, about being aware of your own strengths and weaknesses and then making sure your team is they're able to complement or supplement what you need.
Exactly. And I will say, the other behavior that I have seen, again, not derail, but certainly not work out to a leader's advantage is honestly just not appreciating or recognizing the work of your team. And it's a constant pet peeve of employees. Of course, a leader that takes credit for the work that is not theirs. And although it may benefit a leader in the short term, they end up leaving a trail of destruction. So if you're a leader, from day one, make sure that, you are identifying the work that your team does as the work of the team. You'll be able to garner the trust and the respect of those that you're leading, and you won't leave a trail of destruction on the way up either.
Yeah, that's so important because, the work for leader is nothing without their team.
That's exactly it. And so I think as a leader, adopting a team first mentality is the way to go. And, that it can be difficult. So in my role, of course, at CMHA, when I was there were a number of different competing stakeholders that of course I was trying to do what they wanted. So of course you think about the leadership and the board of the organization and their mandate. You think about the customers and clients and that we were providing service and support and programs to, and then of course the team and the things that they're trying to deal with and manage on a day-to-day basis. And as a leader, my approach has always been team first. Team first, typically customer second, and then organization third. Now, I think there are leaders that might debate that with me, but from the perspective of, I guess, ensuring that your team is healthy and able to do their work, team first has always made a lot of sense to me.
What do you think is one challenge that leaders are facing today?
I think uncertainty. Is the biggest challenge leaders are facing today in many ways. You can talk across sectors, of course, but I think there's uncertainty in every organization right now, every workplace. What's next, and what does life look like this time next year? And nobody really knows. And so I think the biggest challenge for leaders right now is navigating uncertainty, staying grounded and focused themselves, but then also helping employees manage that uncertainty. And great tip that I learned early on in this pandemic, and it comes from McKinsey. They expressed it as bounded optimism. In terms of the way leaders can be communicating to their employees in times of uncertainty is bounded optimism. And it's this idea that you express a clear understanding of the reality of the situation, coupled with, of course, hope that and a knowledge that things will get better. So I think certainly uncertainty is the biggest challenge facing leaders right now, and in particular how to help their teams manage during uncertain times.
Yeah, that's a great point, because it's, as a leader, we feel sometimes you need to have all the questions answered, but you don't have the answers to many questions.
That's just it. And I think it's a point of struggle But the key, for a leader, especially in uncertain times, is, tell your people what you know, be honest about what you don't know, and then tell them what you're doing to find out.
Right.
And rather than silence. If you don't know, be honest about it, but don't leave it there. Give them pleasant understanding of what you're going to do, what you're trying to do to solve the problem.
Yeah. And now we've spoken about the importance of having a great team. When you are hiring someone to be part of your team, what's one question you always ask that person?
I ask them what they want to learn. I always ask what they're interested in learning, what they're learning right now, what they want to learn from the role that they're seeking. And that's a critical question for me. If you're not committed to constant and ongoing learning, I'm not so sure I'm the right leader for you. That being said, I think that the pressure to be learning it can be felt as immense sometimes. And so, I'm not looking for somebody that wants to become an expert in workplace mental health. When I ask what do you want to learn, it can be many different things. It can be, some of the quote unquote soft skills. Like if somebody says I want to learn how to be a better leader, or if I want to learn, how to manage a small team myself, right? Like those things, not like I'm pursuing an MBA, although if they are, that's fantastic.
Right.
People that have a clear intention of what a new role is going to do for them and what they want to get out of it, always a winner in my books.
Yeah, that desire to learn is so powerful, right? And it doesn't have to be formal learning, as you said.
No.
Yeah. Now, if someone was, sort of in your shoes, where they had a full-time job, but they're contemplating making that leap, going into independent consulting, what sorts of advice do you have for someone like that?
I would certainly say talk to people that are doing it already, and build that network of support, because you're going to need it. It's interesting. We know actually from a study done a couple of years ago here in Canada that the mental health of entrepreneurs and the mental health needs of entrepreneurs are significant. Unfortunately, it's because many entrepreneurs don't feel like they have people that understand what they're coping with. And so if anyone's considering that jump, build a connection of entrepreneurs, whether they're doing the same thing as you or not, but build those relationships and build a bit of a net before you jump. It'll make that transition a little bit easier. But I think the other piece of advice I would have is be realistic about what your expectations are. So, I think that there's a lot of sort of glamour that is and has been associated with being your own boss and being an entrepreneur. And you see business coaches making millions off of selling people the entrepreneurial dream. But recognize that it's certainly not all roses, and have realistic expectations for it. In terms of what your first year is going to look like, even what your first few years are going to look like. Don't take off the rose-colored glasses. But beyond that, I think that the benefits can certainly outweigh the costs and the risk and uncertainty in it. I've never had a degree of control over every aspect of my life today. How I choose to spend my time, the kind of work I choose to do, and how I balance other important aspects of my life. These are all, I think, benefits of an entrepreneurial journey. And for that reason, I certainly wouldn't change it.
And how do you choose the work that you want to do? And what is your most favorite part of the stuff you enjoy doing?
Yeah, well, first identifying the stuff that you enjoy doing, that's also a challenge. And I wouldn't say that I have that completely figured out right now, but I know that there are things that drain me and things that energize me. And that's kind of how I categorize them. Is this an exercise or an activity that drains me, or is this something that energizes me? And being really intentional about how I structure my days, my weeks, even the types of projects I take on and when I take them on, to make sure that I've got that right balance. And there will always be things that drain you about work, and I think it's important to recognize that, but also recognize the things that energize you and be intentional about giving yourself time to do that. So I think for me, the things that really energize me are the opportunities I have to engage with people, whether it's interviewing senior leaders, or a focus group of employees, or an ask the expert session. I mean, those types of interactions are the things that really fuel me, and so I make sure to balance that out with, you know, the other drier things that come being a consultant, you know, writing reports and doing my bookkeeping. So exactly, yeah, right. So trying to balance those out, and that's how I do it.